Yeah,
Everybody's looking for a story, right? That's all it comes
Yeah,
down to.
yeah.
it was like it was definitely something that was talked about in the beginning, like when it happened, and then I feel like it just didn't get talked about after that because the defense didn't miss a step, so that he didn't have to become a headline. Like he's an important piece of that D line. He has been for years, right?
For sure. For sure.
And in his last season, he put up like 13 sacks, like double digits coming into the year before he took off, right? So, again, when it happened, I'm sure like there was certainly some news about it, but you guys didn't miss a beat, so it didn't really matter for him to not be on the field.
Not worried about it. And Chad shouldn't be worried about this guy that the Bucs just decided to sign for $10.5 million. Hakeem Hicks.
Not mad about it at all.
Physical, absolute beast. And I don't understand how they continue to print money and continue to do this. And we're going to talk about a couple other people that are printing money. But does this spell the end for Ndamukong? Is he done?
I think so. Unless he comes back for some really, really, really cheap price, there's no way they could afford another one. And I think Hakeem Nicks still has more or less in the tank than Ndamukong. Like, I just don't think there's anything there for him. And then, like, they have him and they have Vita Vea in the middle, which, you know, I feel about him, Shane.
Yeah.
Broke my heart when we took him. But he's turned around and been pretty good for us, so I'll take it. But having another big guy like that beside him, like, they're gonna work off each other, and it just lets other guys like Shaq Barrett and those guys get to run free, right? So that's the most important part.
Yeah. And
did this guy sign with somebody first and fail a physical or something? Like, how is he still free right now?
I'm assuming it was the price tag. 32 years old, that price tag. That's only it could be.
Yeah. I think that the Bears cut him into free agency. I don't think he was a free agent going in.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe he failed his physical with the Bears, like getting back into the facility or something.
Mm-hmm.
Not 100% sure, but I am 100% sure that Walmart makes too much money because this guy just bought the Broncos.
Broncos.
Yeah, and look, I kind of knew they were for sale. I didn't fully know they were for sale, but $4.5 billion. This old white decides to just shell out and take over the Broncos team. I don't get it.
It's and what's crazy is that there was like to think of how much money he has individually, because there were so many people trying to pool money together to buy this team, right? And this guy just comes swooping in. He's like, "Nah, I'll take that. Thank you very much." And it's Denver. Like, I can understand the Cowboys. What were they valued at? Like $5 billion or something like that, like a few years ago when they were talking about it. Yeah. I can understand that. This is the Denver friggin' Broncos.
All I remember is the episode from The Simpsons when they give the Broncos to Homer and how sad he is.
I'm upset he didn't want that. But like right now, at this point, I mean, they're probably. I don't care that Russell's there. I still think they're probably third in that division right now.
Right. Well, so we have Kelly on here talking about how we don't talk about women's college sports, and I'm going to tell you, if you want to come on here, Kelly, we will gladly talk about anything that you want anytime. So you are now on the spot. So when you're ready to come on here, we will brush up on our Oklahoma women's softball and we'll go. Because we actually do have a baseball guy coming on with us in a few minutes here. Absolute awesome legend, Josh Garton. This was the guy we were teasing. Wait until everybody gets a chance to hear this guy talk. He's electric. But yeah, so Broncos are sold, and apparently Aaron Donald is now the most guaranteed money for a non-quarterback in the NFL. Liam is a Rams fan, and he looks pretty impressed about it. You can tell he was definitely
2 thumbs up. That's how excited
he was following that one the whole way through. So I was under the impression that they added 2 years. Kalen, you said that they didn't add any years. That's right?
Yeah, no new years. They just renegotiated the years that he had left on the deal. So he's still through 2024, he'll be there. And then after that, I mean, he can retire when he wants, right? He's done his 8 year, but then he'll be done a decade at that point. So to me, like, I mean, this just goes to show where LA's window is, right? Like, it's right here. You've got 3 years left in your window, which is still pretty big in the NFL. But you could definitely see where the cliff is going to fall off at the very end there, isn't it? Oh,
yeah. Printing money. They just took our formula and just made it like it's that much worse.
Like, right? Yeah. Absurd.
Like, forget drafting players. Why would you even do that anymore?
Well, I don't know the last guy the Rams. Yeah, who was the last guy the Rams drafted? Jared Goff?
That probably would have been Aaron Donald. That was the last home run.
Yeah. Well, hey, if they can hit home runs like that, then keep that rolling along. And absolutely, I had a quick thing to talk about for hockey, but we might pick that up after we're done with Josh. But really quickly, because the game's going to start in a few minutes here. Today's Cool Bet Wagon Ride, brought to you by Goin for 2, is going to be the Avalanche pulling off the sweep take them with the puck line, -1.5. The Oilers historically have been down 3-0 in a conference final 3 times. All 3 times they lose. They've never won in a conference final after being down 3-0. So that one's going to be wrapped up tonight, and we'll just have a lot of Eastern Conference final to pay attention to. And Liam, let me know when we're okay, cool. All right, so Liam is going to find Joshua. He's probably lifted weight somewhere, or trying to squeeze into his baseball pants. I'm not 100% sure. But maybe.
Do you think that suspension was valid?
Yeah. So perfect. So that's what we should talk about. So Kane gets 1 game for essentially knocking Kadri out of the playoffs. Now, Kadri is going to miss out on the opportunity to play for a Stanley Cup. Was the suspension valid? Yeah, it was a dirty hit. Does Kane have a bad history? No, but does the league hate him? Absolutely, they hate him. I'm surprised he only got 1 game.
So if Kadri does that hit, though, what's the suspension? They're equally as hated.
I don't know. Well, no. So that's the thing. Kadri was hated. He has really cleaned his image up since he went to Colorado. That's the big thing about that guy. But you're right. If he was to have done it, even after 4 years now of a clean image in Colorado, he still would have probably gotten thrown the book at him. And
he
1 game,
he would at least been gone for the series.
I don't know, because they still view like playoff game, 1 it's worth 2, right? Like I still would think he got 2. 2 games, I definitely would have think Kadri got that same play. And it was a dirty hit. I mean, you know how big you are. You know what you're going to do taking a kid, or not really a kid anymore, but a small guy like that into the corner. You know what you're doing, Kane. Like, and he does have a little bit of a reputation of being a bit of a chippy prick. And this series specifically, I mean, it hasn't been any different.
Well, and any time that, like, the camera angle was perfect. Like, the cameraman did not do any favors, but his arms were fully extended. That sticks on his back, and he's about to hit the boards. I mean, that's a pretty wild hit and dangerous. I mean, naturally dangerous. You play the game, you gotta at least be able to sign up for the problem. Do I have a bit of a problem with 1 game the way that things have been doled out this playoffs? Probably, but it just seems like they've kind of swept everything on the rug. Jacob Tuba has been fucking gooning people the entire series.
Yeah.
And he's not even getting penalties.
I know.
And,
yeah.
and
the guy's Cronwalling people out there.
Do you have an issue that no one came to Nazem's rescue?
So, exactly.
That's the part that bothers me. I don't care, dirty or not. If you see one of your leaders on I don't care who you are, you have to do something. You just can't sit there.
I didn't see the number, but somebody skated up and then someone just like put him on the boards like a child. And then
it was McKinnon, was it not? I think it was 29.
Was it McKinnon? Yeah, somebody got put on the boards like a child.
Yeah.
And nobody else came to in that play, knowing what happened, you don't know if the guy's injured. He could have a broken neck. He could have a broken thumb. You have no idea. But how there isn't a single stick or a glove on the ground after that is absolutely insane to me. And I don't understand how that coach these guys stayed on the ice and skated after, right? Like the coach kept them out there, like the old Mighty Ducks, D3.
And they didn't drop the gloves right after that?
Like, I don't understand, like, how do you not just, like, have, like, if you, like skate by a guy on a face-off and, like, just look at a goalie. Don't even touch him. Look at him. You have a scrum in front of the net. And this guy's lying pretty much motionless, and there's nothing happening.
Yeah. Certainly let me down. I went into that series talking about how everybody in Colorado was going to be able to punch Kane in the mouth, and then that happens, and not a single person comes out. Like, that's so upsetting. The West is supposed to be the tough West teams, and Colorado is supposed to be that team that has every angle in hockey covered. Scoring, defense, grit. The goalie's been kind of letting them down in the playoffs, but going through the season, they've been pretty good. So they had every angle covered, and unfortunately, that's a pretty big weak spot. He's coming on in.
Okay. Right. And here he comes, Guelph Royals superstar.
There we are.
And absolute legend with the stash. He's got the flow going on. I wish that people could see your baseball pants right now, because that was the number one thing that drew us to you.
The fact that we had to keep grabbing our wives' necks and turning them back the other way, right? Yeah. Stop looking at that. Stop looking at that.
Yeah. So how you doing, man? Appreciate you coming on.
Hey, I appreciate you guys asking me to come on, and once in a lifetime thing. Well, this is my first and maybe my only time. We'll see how this goes.
Hopefully not.
This won't even be your last time with us, so don't worry about that. All right. So the first question, and we wanted to ask you after the game, but we're not going to bug you after a loss. Is Oreos generally something that you would eat on the bench?
We can't say that too loud in case the girlfriend's listening with my diet. Yeah, it's definitely a go-to. The double stuffed Oreos, some sugar to get into my system so I could wake up. So
Yeah, I have an awesome picture. It's one of those like motion action pictures of just like the scarf.
oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't get on the gram so that she sees it.
Hey, no, we're not gonna put you on blast like that.
We're
Don't
all
worry.
The
good.
thing that stands
Yeah.
out to me, and like we're like right as it happened, I was like, "Yo, this guy's been on the show." You hit a ball, and we all knew the backtrack.
Yeah.
You ran down to first base with a fucking club in your hand. You didn't even drop it. You don't even know this. You got to first base, snapped that thing like a fucking toothpick, and I was like, "Yo, that guy's coming on our show." It's that simple.
Yeah.
I was like, "I don't care what we have to do. He's coming on here."
It definitely wasn't the first time breaking a bat over my leg, but it was a little bit easier this time since it was already broken. If you don't hit it in the right spot, your leg is pretty bruised afterwards. So.
There's
Yeah,
no way those tree trunks bruised, man. That didn't stand a chance. And I love the my favorite thing about baseball is it's still that old time sport, gets the kids involved a lot. There's always the activities. I got to give you kudos, man. You gave it to a kid right away and gave an autograph on that bat. That was pretty cool, man, for sure.
Well, this game isn't about me anymore. It's all about the kids, man.
I love that. That's a great one, man, for sure.
Yeah. Now, I know you're from Guelph. So what brought you back to the like? Do you have to play for the Royals, or can you play anywhere?
Right now, since I signed a card with them, they have my rights until I ask for a release.
Okay.
Last year, I played for Hamilton, but that was like
Okay.
well folded, and we kind of got traded off or a mock draft type deal, and so I got drafted to Hamilton. I played there last season, but it was a short little stint there. I only played, I think, 9 games because I got sick from, believe it or not, the vaccine. So
Oh.
I was kind of sick for about a month and a half with that, and I played a little bit of playoffs, but it was a very short season last year. So
Yeah, I didn't know
But
if it was
they-
like the old like when we were younger growing up playing baseball, like you have to play with like your space, right? Like, and if you were
Yeah.
competitive, you have to play with your London competitive.
No, I played in Kitchener for a year and a half as well. But then again, that's when Guelph folded again.
Okay.
Guelph didn't have a team, so I had free reign to go wherever I pleased, and I just followed a few other Guelphites to Kitchener for that season.
Right, and you've had quite the baseball journey. I mean, we looked you up on Google, and
Okay.
luckily, and I don't know if you know this, but there's also a Joshua Garton that was arrested in Tennessee for peeing on a police officer's grave, which we were very thankful that wasn't you, by the way.
No.
It was not you, yeah.
I've done some silly things, but I definitely would not pull that one out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So whenever we bring up the majors, I always talk about the ball diamond. It's the oldest one in the world. It's always got this history behind it. So you've played in a few ball diamonds. What do you think about the majors park? Do you like playing in your own place more than ours, or what?
I thoroughly enjoy my own place just because of the fans, and I guess you can call me a fan favorite there. I play into the kids and play into the crowd quite a bit. But for ball diamonds in the IBL, Labatt Park is by far the best. It's the best field to be in. Even the clubhouse down underneath, like it's the way it should be. And like I played, like you guys have already looked up, I played in a lot of ballparks, and that was like one of the top-notch ballparks I have played in my whole life for sure is Labatt Park.
Yeah, they got some little nice crawl spaces in the locker room where you can hide paraphernalia. Right?
I wouldn't know that. I did hide my Oreos in there from all the guys.
Yeah. Hey, I used to play at Labatt Park when I was like in my 20s, and I remember like climbing in there, and there's like a little crawl space where we definitely didn't keep a cooler of beer. I know that.
Yeah. Now that's allowed. That's kind of like just sitting on the trainer's table because we don't use a trainer anymore.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I don't think you need it.
I'm banged up already. It's been a short season already, and I'm pretty banged up. My legs aren't holding my weight like I want to. But
go for show, not for go, eh?
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because I like your leg holding weight. I was convincing these guys that you and Dalton Pompey had switched pants because his legs looked really small in his pants, and yours, you kind of look like you're wearing bell bottoms.
They do look like they look odd. Let's say that. It's the first season we've had these pants. Usually I wear a Rawlings that I've had for a while, but I figured I'd switch it up with a new pair of pants and maybe get some clean whites. They didn't have my size. Extra large, I guess, is a little bit too small for me now. But we'll just, yeah, I don't mind it. I think it looks good. It plays into the crowd.
So that game that we were watching, you were DHing. Is that a regular thing for you, or are you out there in the position
I
field too?
thoroughly dislike DH. It takes me out of the game. I don't feel like I'm in it enough, and I can just kind of get in my head. I think about my bats too much. But if I'm on the field, then I can start thinking about like plays and where I got to be position wise and stuff like that. But DH is definitely not my go-to.
Just there's not enough action, right? I totally feel like that for sure.
Yeah,
We
and
need to
then
see more in the field.
you hear all the fans behind you heckling you and laughing at you about eating Oreos and stuff. And you know, when you're on the field, you're not thinking about the Oreos. Well, you're thinking about the Oreos. You're just not getting heckled about it.
Yeah, and I mean, watching like going into like baseball mechanics, watching your swing. Have you ever been cheated on a swing before? Because when I was watching, I was like, this guy's gonna hurt somebody. If he connects with the ball, watch out, boys. I hope you brought your gloves.
Well, hopefully you guys don't come around Hastings Stadium at all. I believe it's not safe. I've hit a few balls there that haven't landed supposedly. So
okay.
Oh my God.
Come by, just watch out and by the softball enclosure out there. Yeah. But no, I definitely don't cheat myself. If I run into a ball, I hope to murder it. The harder you swing, the further it'll go is my go-to. But yeah, sometimes I gotta learn how to just cut it down a little bit, maybe put the barrel on it. But most of the time, a free swinger and just go up there hacking.
Yeah, like as a kid, like a young kid, probably like 5 or 6 years old, I remember going there and watching the London Tigers, and a name Albert Bell. I don't know if you remember the name Albert Bell.
Slightly know that.
Yeah, he has hit the longest home run in that park that I've ever seen in my life. It went over the trees in left field, like over into Harris Park. And
yeah,
that
I've seen Sean Riley and Cleveland Brownlee do that.
Oh, really?
Man, Cleveland's got a boomer stick, man. That guy can hit the ball. I love that he does no gloves too. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's old school right there.
Yeah.
But the only downfall for me is that I'm a lefty, so I have to put it on the highway, which I did 3 seasons ago. But I guess you guys did better.
No, we didn't see that. Like,
yeah, that's unfortunate.
Man, could you imagine driving down Riverside just getting a fucking baseball off your windshield?
Yeah, but then imagine driving to the ball diamond and trying to take on the guy that did it, and it's Josh. Yeah, all right. I'll just take the damage and drive away.
That's what insurance.
I definitely would not stand there and fight at all. There's been a few brawls in London that we've had, and all I've done is grab a guy by the pants. I don't really like getting into that stuff because I don't know if you guys searched enough, and you guys could probably find some other stuff on there about me.
So he was not the guy who peed on the grave. He was the guy who beat up someone who put them in the grave.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
So who's your major league team, Josh?
My major league team is no doubt like Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah?
Or sorry, the Toronto Blue Jays.
Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Right up Shane's alley right there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Said right up Shane's alley. That's his favorite team too.
Okay.
And what do you think of the season so far? It's been for them. It's been a pretty crazy up and down. I mean, the last 10, 15 days, holy hell for you guys, right?
Oh yeah, it's been pretty interesting for sure, to say the least. But I mean, it is what it is. That's baseball. You know, there's up and downs. It's a game of inches, right? So.
Well, and that's what I always tell these guys is you're always gonna win 50 and lose 50, and it only matters what happens on the games in between that.
Absolutely.
And so you Blue Jays fan, obviously longtime Blue Jays fan. Is it were you a little starstruck when Dalton came into the clubhouse, or you've been around big name guys, and you were in the Cincinnati organization? So
I was with the Cincinnati organization. Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting like Ken Griffey Sr. He brought his son down when he retired, so I got to meet Ken Griffey Jr. Like Ken Griffey Sr. was my hitting coach for 2 years in Dayton, Ohio, for the Dayton Dragons. Delano DeShields was with us for a long time. Like I got to meet a whole bunch of those guys. But yeah, I mean, Dalton Pompey, stand-up guy. It's rather interesting seeing someone that close at a pro time, like big league status, like to be there with us so soon. But he's a stand-up guy. I can't say anything bad about him. He's there for us. He's not there for himself, and all he wants to do is win. You know, and like that's majorly key right there.
Yeah.
Now, when you have a guy that comes from the majors, so close out of the majors to coming into your league now, do you find that your coaches, your team, your trainers, they're picking his brain on what's happening in the big leagues and trying to bring and facilitate that to your team, or is it strictly he's just there to learn how they want to play ball?
He's. I can't say we're trying to play around him or anything like that. Not like we're not letting him dictate how things go. He's coming in playing off of our system and the way we play baseball. It's good to have his input, no doubt, because he's had a lot of baseball experience and everything. But we also have a lot of other guys that have had a lot of pro time as well. Maybe not major leagues, but we've had a lot of guys in the minor leagues. And to mesh us all together, we all have to work as a team. We can't just work off of one guy, right?
Well, for sure. And when we talk about work, your body transformation over the last few years, that takes a tremendous amount of work. But I think people probably wouldn't realize how much you would probably need to adjust your swing with your shoulder growth and with all that. So how did you deal with that? And like, how much work did you actually have to put into to stay in baseball condition for that?
I work a lot on mobility training, especially a couple months before coming into the season and stuff. Like I actually wasn't going to play because I was trying to do like a bodybuilding competition. Then I talked with Sean Fuller, our owner, and he basically convinced me to come back for another season. But to work around, having to get around on a swing per se, I've had to learn how to swing with one hand. I can't really follow through with both hands because it pulls my other shoulder out too much. It's a lot of mobility training, a lot of working with the right trainers and stuff like that. Luckily, my girlfriend owns a gym, or doesn't own the gym, but she works at a gym here in Guelph, and she's outstanding at what she does. And she's worked with me tremendously about getting mobility to come up and around, or even like my legs, being able to hold my weight that I've gained almost 30 pounds, to be able to hold me and still be able to run and stop and go side to side. Like, it's a lot of different kind of training that I got to do in order to get in the season shape. But it's like riding a bike too. You come in here, you play the game for as long as I have. You just have to tweak one or two things, and everything else will kind of flow with it. So it's not terrible, but it's not ideal to be my weight and still trying to play. But people like Cleveland Brownlee can do it too.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't look awkward when you're swinging, and that's kind of what that was one of the other things that caught my eye was generally like a bigger guy. It's going to look awkward when you're swinging, or you're going to be hacking down at it. And from the left side, I wish I was left-handed when I play baseball, because I think that's the sweetest looking swing that you can have is a lefty swing.
It's a little bit smoother than most, but not saying mine, but a lefty swing I think is a little more smoother than most. But being able to have a little bit of power from the left side and the right side of the plate with like Riley and them, it's definitely, better for our team that you can't just throw a lefty against us or a righty against us. So.
Yeah, no, and that makes a lot of sense. And how long have you been playing in the IBL now?
I want to say parts of about 8 years. I skipped about 2 years. I played in Quebec. I played 2 half seasons, I think, with Guelph, and then I went to Quebec to go play in the Independent Can-Am League.
Okay.
Then I ran into a little bit of drug and alcohol problems, and so I took a few years off for that, and I played men's league and got clean and sober. So that's where
beat some guys up in the men's league, didn't you? I bet you just towered over those guys. How many home runs did you have in that league?
I actually was very depressed playing in that league because I never got to see a pitch. It was basically 4 pitch walks all the time, unless I was like just trying to swing at anything.
Yeah,
I was walked intentionally way too much, and it just wasn't fun. Like, it just totally took me out of the game.
Jeez.
But
yeah, it just takes one dickhead manager on the other side to ruin it for everyone.
Oh, definitely. It's fun for them, but then they want to. Why wouldn't you want to pitch to me? Why wouldn't you want to see if you can get me out instead of block me intentionally? That's what I look at it. But
so I guess you got a lot of stolen bases, right? You swipe second every time.
Yeah, I move real quick then. Yeah, I steal every time I can for sure.
Yeah.
So Josh, the look, the mullet with the lightning bolts and shaved in the side of your head, the mustache. How long has this been a thing? Is it just an ongoing, like, a joke for you? You like doing this thing, or what's going on?
Well, it kind of started as a joke. I've had a mustache on and off for the past 5 years or so. When I first got sober, I started doing a dyed mustache black and everything like that. It would come and gone, come and gone.
The Tom Selleck.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
yeah. I've been called that a few times too. But to be honest with you, about 2 years ago when COVID first started, I just, I was depressed at home, and Tiger King came out, and the look started coming.
You're like Joe Exotic, that's me.
Yeah,
That's
I
kind of
cut
how you
the hair
went with
into a mullet, started dyeing it blonde out of the box dye and everything, and now I kind of have this self-image I created that I got to run with.
So are you dyeing it yourself, or is that like an every other Friday night for you and the wife to get together and we're gonna dye my hair again, sweetheart?
I actually go and spend money.
You got somebody else to do it
Go
now.
to a salon.
All right, you
buddy,
treat yourself.
Yeah, my buddy owns a salon. He doesn't really cut me a deal, unfortunately, but I really enjoy going to him and just shooting the shit sometimes with him. So,
well, give him a shout out and then tell him you did some marketing, and then he'll owe you one on the next one.
well, he just opened a new salon down in Uptown Waterloo called Salon 95. So everyone should go check it out.
There you go. Check out
here.
Salon 95, and then make sure that you said that Josh sent you.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Promo code Josh.
Yeah. And then so last question, and like my immediate thing, like you're an entertainer. Have you ever given any consideration into pro wrestling? And is pro wrestling something that's down the line for you when the IBL is no longer?
We'll see. I mean, The Rock made a career out of it, right? So, and
Yeah.
now John Cena's coming into acting, so who knows? There's always that possibility. I'm not going to put it under the rug for sure. I'm going to maybe build with it. It never really came to, hindsight until this season, listening to London fans and everything like that. But I also have been told I could model for Lululemon. So, I mean, that's not
You might need more than the XL in those bad boys.
I can see the ladder. Here you go: baseball, Lulu, the bodybuilding, WWE. I got it's right there, man, right in front of me.
It's just a ladder got to climb, and someone's got to climb it, right?
That's right, man.
Hey, the only thing we ask is when you are big time, don't forget about the little guys like us who gave you the idea.
And whenever you guys go big time too, don't forget about me. I'll be back on for sure.
Oh, we're going to be looking for our autographed Guelph Royals hats, so we will be all over you on those.
Absolutely.
We aren't that loyal to the majors. We like going to the majors games, but we're not that loyal.
I was this close to trying to take that bat from that kid because I saw the autograph on it. So next time I'll have to get it.
Maybe if you're lucky, I might break one again by the time I get to you guys.
Here we go.
Just strike out and break over your knee. It's all the same thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, a guy can hope. But hey, we appreciate you coming on, taking your time. This won't be the last time. We're definitely going to check in with you a little bit later on in the season. And the next time the Royals are playing in London, you're going to see the three of us there for sure.
Hell yeah.
Perfect. Can't wait.
All right, man. We appreciate it.
All right. Definitely. I'll make sure I bring a double box.
Yeah. All right.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Cheers. All right. Hey, the record stands.
They just keep coming, man. These great guests, bro. Just keep happening.
Another one.
I'm just shocked like how many beers we drank. That guy actually legit believed us when we said we had a podcast.
Yeah.
Bangerangs you drank, Chad. You were drinking bangerangs.
Yeah, I definitely had some of those too.
Yeah, and overall, super down to earth guy, and not hard to imagine that guy playing baseball his entire life. He definitely knows the game. Amazing that he met Ken Griffey Sr. I mean,
that's really cool, man. That was his hitting coach. Met him. It was his coach. That's amazing.
Yeah. And then it's almost impossible to transition to this next thing, but win totals came out for college football, and
just smooth right in that one, eh?
Hey,
real time limit you got right here.
Hey, we
Ken
know
Griffey
how the transition
Senior
work.
and Texas is going to lose 6 right on the button.
But Chad, what's the promo code for the Hot Sauce Co?
Going for 2. Nice
All right.
and simple.
All right, make sure you check that out. You can find that on any of our socials. Going for 2, you're going to get 15% off your online order. And because we're kind of getting into some hot takes here, I think this is some pretty hot takes on some of these win totals. And I've circled a couple that I'm going to bring up to you guys. Naturally, I circled all of our teams.
Of course.
But here's the thing that has stood out the most. The Clemson Tigers over-under is 10.5.
Why? What happened in the ACC that they just jumped up so fast again?
Well, they're dog shit.
Well, I know the ACC's trash, but Clemson really fell off the last couple of years, right?
Yeah,
Hey, you
Michigan
gonna do
something?
Aiden like that? Aiden's bringing him home, man.
yeah. I think that Clemson's probably going to be a little bit better this year. They definitely had a down year. Dabo seems like he's dialing into the transfer portal and the NIL thing. Liam's giving me the finger with 4. But yeah, it's not so much the win total because naturally they're going to play against weaker opponents. But what stood out was they have the exact same win total over under as Georgia and Alabama. So you're looking at a safe bet. I mean, you're looking at Georgia at 10.5 and Alabama at 10.5. Obviously, that's the highest. No one is at an 11.5 because they're not.
Yeah,
they're
right on
never
the
going to.
table.
They're never going to project somebody to go undefeated or just have one loss. But of those 3 teams, I mean, this is basically projecting these guys to be all in the playoff. Do you think that Clemson's making a return to the college football playoff?
They'll have to go undefeated. That's it. Like, they have to go 12-0 in the ACC. That's the only way it can happen.
Okay.
They're kind of in the same situation Notre Dame is. Like, if you lose one, you better lose it really early, and then you better win every game. Or else you're not going to get it.
Well,
And at 10.5, like, they slip up twice. Like, they play us week 10, and they're going to play Pittsburgh, and I don't know how far they've fallen off. But if they slip up once in the ACC, they're not going to get in. Like, a one-loss ACC team's not going to get in.
No, they would put a 1-loss Big Ten team in before they'd put a 1-loss ACC team in. So Michigan, Ohio State, way more likely to get in than I think than Clemson. But just on the schedule, I'd see a third SEC team get in before I would see Clemson get in.
yeah, and the ACC right now, like just to put that in perspective, the second ranked ACC team is Pitt at 9.5. Pitt lost a big name receiver. They obviously lost Kenny Pickett in the draft. They brought back Kelvin Slovis, former USC quarterback. But I agree. I don't think that the ACC is strong enough. I think that Clemson's going to walk the ACC this year. I think that was like a one-time down year last year, and we're going to expect a pretty big rebound. But let's get into some of the minutia here. I'm going to start with the slap in the face that I got.
What?
Minutia.
This is word of the day.
You're going to need to give me the definition of that when we get off air.
Liam, if you want to look up the definition of a minutia, you can. But
Can you use that in a sentence, please?
It's basically what holds everything together. Michigan State's win total over under 7.5.
Saw that.
This was absolutely disgusting and disrespectful. You got it, Liam? I know. Boom. Boom. Boom.
Okay.
Word of the day, toilet paper is paying off already. Yeah, over 7.5 for Michigan State. I think that's pretty disrespectful total. Kind of hard to imagine that they're going to put Michigan at 9.5 and put Michigan State at 7.5, considering Michigan lost to Michigan State, and the Michigan State team has absolutely exhausted the transfer portal to the point of anybody that was second string for Georgia or Florida or Alabama last year now plays on Michigan State. So I don't think that they're a national championship competitor or a contender, but at 7.5, that's basically saying they're out of contention for the Big Ten championship. I'm not ready to say that. Not ready to put them in that position. I mean, I'm going to put them at probably 10-2 for the year, losing to Penn State and probably losing to Ohio State. But moving on, Notre Dame 9.5.
I wrote down the 5 games that I'm worried about.
Okay.
Put this up here. Obviously, week 1 we got Ohio State. It's a nice little test for Marcus Freeman right off the bat.
That's probably an 0-1. Like, unfortunately, because Ohio State is super deep and they always have it figured out.
Then we're going to be 4-1 going into week 6. Then we have BYU, who's a lot better than people give them credit for. I'm not saying we're going to lose, but that's a tough game. Then we go right into Stanford. And then we got Clemson week 10, and then we finish with USC, last game of the year.
Damn.
So I think out of those games, if we win 3 of them, that puts us at 9-3. Is what I kind of projected us at. So 9.5 is pretty good. We might have to steal one of those other games.
Let's go ahead and hammer that under. I mean, no one has fun playing the under, but I mean, if one of Notre Dame's biggest fans is telling me 9-3, I feel pretty strongly about that.
We don't have a starting quarterback yet, too. Like, that's the other thing, right? We don't have a starting quarterback. We've recruited really well, but that's not helping us this year.
Well, we're gonna move on to another favorite of the show, and Kelly, you're gonna like this. They have Oklahoma. She gone?
She went and made dinner.
Oh, sorry about your luck, Kelly. You missed the Oklahoma over under 9.5. I think this is a disrespectful line on Notre Dame. If Oklahoma's gonna win 10 games, Notre Dame's gonna win 12.
Wow.
They've been gutted.
Wow.
They lost their coach. They've lost recruits. They've lost recruits coming in. They lost their starting quarterback. The draft has come around. 3 of their running backs are gone. I'm not disrespecting Oklahoma Sooner football, but there's no way that any team could sustain this. If Alabama lost Nick Saban, Bryce Young, XXXXX.
That's just Alabama every year, though, except for Nick Saban. They lose all their stuff every year.
Well, to the draft, I mean, they'll keep them for 3 years, but right now, I just don't understand if Spencer Rattler was supposed to be their guy, and then Caleb Williams took over. So who's playing quarterback for Oklahoma?
Yeah, I got General Booty is transferred in.
I'm not sure.
That's a real name, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not sure that anybody's excited about that except for Kelly. And this isn't like a attack Kelly portion of the show. I just think that Oklahoma football is getting 9.5 based on the name of Oklahoma football, not necessarily on what the skill level or the talent on the team is going to look like. And it could probably lead into the next one. The Texas Longhorns are only getting 8.5, Galen.
Are they getting 8? I thought there was 9.5 too on them.
No, it's 8.5 for them.
Well, there's only like a couple of games to be worried about. I mean, Oklahoma, obviously the Red River Shootout. I still am worried about that just because it is a rivalry. They play Alabama week 2. Outside of that, like, yeah. Well, I mean, hey, it's early in the season. Anything can happen. Alabama can slip up, potentially. But outside of that,
I'll tell you, there's 3 things that are certain: death, taxes, and Alabama beating Texas. I'll put money on that line right now. It'll probably be around. What do you think, Chad? Like 19.5 is the line for that game?
About 18.5, 17, probably 17.5.
All right.
Possessions.
Sign me up. 3 scores. I'm in.
But there's literally nobody else on the schedule to even like talk about. Like they got
Baylor.
There's Baylor's the last game of the season, so things could already potentially be decided there, or that could be the Big 12, championship game right there.
Right.
But the only Iowa State, like West Virginia, like they don't have anybody the big that they're playing this year. They're kind of unfortunate. I think schedule-wise, they're going to be a lot like we talked last year about Cincinnati. You just didn't play anybody big enough. That's what it's going to be. You're going to probably lose out to Alabama.
Well, we talked about with Cincinnati, like not being able to make the playoff. Like you can't honestly tell me that you think that Texas isn't going to make the playoff because their schedule isn't good enough.
What?
We talked about Cincinnati not being able to make the playoff because we weren't sure if their schedule was good enough.
Looking at this,
you don't think that Texas?
I'm legitimately saying they could have one loss all year long. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and it's the same
3-loss SEC team is getting in before a 1-loss one-loss Texas team.
I just don't believe. I don't believe that simply because it's Texas, Oklahoma, and how much money they bring to NCAA too. At the same time, I think there's big 2 programs that the NCAA would bend over to try and get in if they could. But again, yes, I agree with you in the sense that the schedule would be like Cincinnati. They didn't play anybody good enough.
Yeah, well, and when does Cincinnati come into the Big 12? Is it when you guys leave, or are you going to be there?
I think it's 1 year they overlap each other.
Because I saw like an interesting thing on the Big 12. All the revenue that the Big 12 made last year on their TV contracts, they're actually dividing it between the schools. They're not just keeping it for the conference. Did you see that?
What do you mean?
So all the money that the Big 12 won or made off of their TV contracts, they're actually giving it back to the schools. They're just dividing it up. And I was surprised by that because generally that's not how it works. Like the Big Ten's not doing that. But there's something like $47 million that they're doling back out to each school.
Probably keep them there. Please stay in the Big 12. We'll pay you.
Well, I didn't know if Texas and Oklahoma were going to get their payout, but that's the U.S. college football. And I mean, we're probably still 90 days away from that because we're still 98 days away from NFL kickoff. But we do have a kickoff that's on Thursday. And that kickoff on Thursday is going to be the CFL. And I know a lot of people don't care for the CFL because the rules are different. I actually was one of those people. I watched it a little bit, got to talk to a few of the players. I'm a turncoat. I'm back onto the CFL. I'll watch the CFL until the NFL starts. So that is my disclaimer. But last year, Chad and I believe, both picked the Grey Cup champion. I don't think that right. We both had Winnipeg last year.
Yeah.
All right.
I picked Calgary on our socials, but on the show we both took Winnipeg.
All right. So we got about we gotta finish this up in the next 10 minutes. So as we decide to pick and as we decide to make this happen, who do you got this year, Chad? You think Winnipeg on the three-peat, or are you feeling a little bit, a little out there, and you wanna spread your wings and fly?
I gotta go with my boy Tanner, man. He's won 3 straight championships. One with us. Now he's got 2 out there, so I'm gonna go with him.
Okay.
And he was our first guest ever. There's a pro athlete on our show, so we gotta roll with him.
No disrespect, yeah, it's cool. I'm not picking them, but that's cool.
Argos and Rough Riders.
Did you just pick 2 teams to win?
Oh, I think they picked the final. That's why we go to the final.
No, all we need is our
Rough Riders.
Rough Riders. Okay. Mm-hmm. And just for clarity's sake, that's Saskatchewan, not the old Ottawa team, because there used to be 2 teams that were called the
same
Rough
time.
And I used to talk shit about that, but now we are CFL enthusiasts, and we get into the games. Now, for me, I'm gonna pick this based on the stupidest thing that you'll ever think of. I'm gonna pick the Argonauts, and I'm gonna pick the Argonauts because their backup quarterback is Chad Kelly, and I like Chad Kelly, and I would love to party with Chad Kelly one time. And I think that based on the way that the schedule, based on the way that the schedule goes, and based on the way that Bethel Thompson usually gets his ass whipped, I'm going to say Chad Kelly's going to play a little bit of football, and I think he's going to lead the boys to the Grey Cup.
Wow. I didn't even know that Chad Kelly was playing there.
Hey, you got to do the deep research. Some people just read the surface, read the titles and the headlines. I dig into the minutia.
Stop with that word. So if we go to a CFL game this year, are you bringing a sign and you're going to Chad Kelly with a big heart? Is that what we're going to see?
No, he's going to say Chad Kelly's the minutia.
Minutia.
I might have Chad Kelly's name shaved into my chest hair. If you guys want to head over to BMO Field with me, we can go check out a ball game over there. Because I'm pretty sure our friends over at Cool Bet have a sponsorship over there, so I'm pretty sure we can figure something out. Rick is all about that pick. All right, that's my guy. All right, couple more quick things just to wrap it up. I know Kalen wants to talk about the Celtics, but before we get that, I want to shout out a Brewers relief pitcher, Milwaukee Brewers. This guy, Josh Hyder, has made 40 consecutive appearances that were all scoreless. That is an MLB record. That is something that we're not going to dig into how he's doing it or any of that shit, but if we have a sports show and we don't at least bring that up, we'd be assholes. So big shout out to Hyder.
And if it wasn't the fact that he played in Milwaukee, I mean, he'd be like the closer name right now. That would be way more household, right? Like that's an incredible stat. And that is like, we're talking big name numbers that he even got close to that, sniffed it, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And we probably jinxed him, and I hope he's not pitching tonight, and I hope he doesn't like give up a couple bombs tonight. I have no idea what Rick's talking about. All right, Kayla, here's your 3 minutes of fame. Talk about your Celtics for a second, and then we're gonna wrap things.
Well, you watched the game last night, Shane.
I did.
And what did you think of the officiating?
You know what? I think that last night was probably the first time that a referee ever bet against the team in an NBA game. Oh wait, no, that's definitely happened before.
Definitely happened before, yeah.
Yeah, there's no way that the league is excited about Boston winning the championship, which I do think that they're going to. But I think that they want this thing to go more than 4 games, so they kind of drag this one out. And look, Tatum's a beast, Smart's a beast, Brown's a beast. You got nothing to worry about as a Celtics fan right now.
No, and it's it's upset. What's really upsetting is that it comes out today. They put the numbers, the ratings, right? The NFL Super Bowl had 23.5 million people that watched it, or was it the Super Bowl? And in the game one of the Celtics series, they had 8.3 million.
It was the least watched NFL playoff game. That's what it was. It wasn't
The least
even
watched was 23, yeah, and they had 8.5 million in the NBA. How are you supposed to put a better product on the court when your officiating is giving you that? Draymond Green should have been teed up twice. The foul that was on Jaylen Brown when he didn't even touch what was Gary Payton second going up for the layup there. You're right. They've completely handed that game back to Golden State. And it's a team that doesn't even have the game handed to them. Like they really shouldn't have that. Have that. Everybody wants to talk about how they got blown out yesterday, 30. The Celtics also were the number 2 team. I learned this from Cody going into the series. The number 2 team in blowout losses this season. Now, mind you, a lot of those came before halfway through January when they turned things around. But the number 1 team in the league with blowout wins was Golden State. I mean, it's going to happen. If you're going to lose to a team, Golden State is going to put the offense on you. They do not need help offensively that they got last night. So I really hope coming back to Boston, Jaylen Brown talked about Draymond Green trying to pull his pants down, and that's what I'm talking about. The second P should have happened right there. I think that the refs, this specifically, just the next game, they're going to be really tight. There's going to be a lot of ticky-tack bullshit calls that even I'm going to hate for the makeup type of calls they're going to go for. And then you're going to see it kind of loosen up, I think, after that again. But next game in Boston, they should clean up their act because that was horse shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're all about load management in the NBA, so they'll probably play game 3 in, 2 weeks?
Wednesday.
One funny thing that I thought, because ESPN and TNT, they're playing the hockey playoffs, hilarious that they put the hockey game on at 3 and they put the basketball game on at 8 when majority of people probably just drank during the hockey game and went to bed. That's why nobody watched the NBA game. And that's probably why the refs are getting away with it and no one's blasting them on socials because no one watched the game. Like I said, tree falls in the forest, no one's around to hear it, doesn't make a noise. I don't know. If the NBA championship happens and no one's around to watch it, do they win the championship?
Stop. You're not putting a big old asterisk beside my boys' championship, upcoming championship.
Look, that is good enough. Let's sign out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey game's about to start. We got the Avalanche -1.5. Blue Jays are in Kansas City tonight. That's another win. Russ Grappling goes to the mound. Make sure you check out the socials. Check out all the stuff we got going on. We're definitely going to be dropping our merch website in the next coming weeks. That's me putting Liam on the spot.